Okay, today we are going to be working on the review for your quiz, which is on Wednesday. We're going to start with reviewing sine, cosine, tangent. So we need to find this missing side. To do that, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So 4 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. 16 plus b squared equals 25. B squared is equal to 9, so we take the square root and we get b equals 3. Remember, SOHCAHTOA. So that means that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so from theta, the opposite is 3. The hypotenuse is 5, so that's 3 over 5. Cosine is adjacent, which is 4 over hypotenuse, so that's 4 over 5, and tangent is opposite over adjacent, so that's 3 over 4. Okay? Remember that secant is the reciprocal of sine, so if sine is opposite over hypotenuse, secant is hypotenuse over opposite. Secant is not the reciprocal of sine. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. I put it there to trick you, and I tricked myself. Remember, secant goes with cosecant. S goes with C. C goes with S. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is 4 over 5, so secant is 5 over 4. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Since sine is 3 over 5, cosecant is 5 over 3. And cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Since tangent is 3 over 4, cotangent is 4 over 3. Okay, I'll let you guys do number 2 on your own. So remember exact values. For exact values, we need to, I'm going to draw my little graph. This is 1, 0. This is 0, 1. This point is negative 1, 0. This point is 0, negative 1. Remember right here at 30 degrees, that's the point square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. 45 degrees, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. And at 60 degrees, it is 1/2, and then square root of 3 over 2. Remember that all students take calculus. That means all of them are positive in the first quadrant, only sine is positive in the second quadrant, only tangent is positive in the third quadrant, and only cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So sine of 120. If we were to sketch this graph, we would rotate that 90 degrees and then another 30 degrees, leaving us right here at 120. Our reference angle is the angle made with the x-axis and the terminal side of our angle, so that would be 60 degrees. In the second quadrant, sine is positive, and if our reference angle is 60 degrees, we're going to be looking at the point 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. Sine goes second, so our answer is just positive square root of 3 over 2. Number 4, cosine, 240. So let's sketch this. So that's going to be 90, 180, and then we'd have to go 60 more degrees from 180 to get to 240. Our reference angle is not 30 degrees because it's not the angle we make with the y-axis, but it's the angle we make with the x-axis. So our reference angle in this problem is also 60 degrees. If we have a 60 degree reference angle, we're looking at the point 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. And cosine goes first, so cosine's 1/2. But we also have to say, okay, in the third quadrant, only tangent is positive, which means cosine is negative. Tangent of 300, so let's sketch this. That gives us 90, 180, 270, we go another 30 degrees. That does not mean our reference angle is 30 degrees. Reference angle is the angle formed with the terminal side of our angle in the x-axis. This is our reference angle, which is 60 degrees. Again, man. And in the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive, which means the tangent is negative. And remember, tangent is sine over cosine. So at 60 degrees, the sine is the square root of 3 over 2, and the cosine is 1/2. And when we divide by fraction, it's the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So this is equal to negative square root of 3 over 2 times the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. The 2's cancel and our answer is just negative square roots of 3. Cotangent of 60. So we already know our reference angle is 60. Because if we were to sketch this, it would be right here 60 degrees away from the x-axis. And cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is sine over cosine, so cotangent is cosine over sine. So that's 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2, which is 1/2 times the reciprocal of the square root of 3 over 2, which is 2 over the square root of 3. The 2's cancel, leaving us with 1 over the square root of 3, and then we have to rationalize the denominator, and that leaves us with the square root of 3 over 3. Okay, secant of pi over 6. Remember, pi over 6 is associated with 30 degrees. So you should also know that this is pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3. So we are right here. Pi over 6 has a reference angle of 30 degrees. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine at 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. So the secant is the reciprocal of that, which is 2 over the square root of 3. Then we'd have to multiply by the square root of 3 to get 2 square roots of 3 over 3. Number 8, cosecant of 5 pi over 6. So 5 pi over 6, if you think about, we rotate all the way here, that's 6 pi over 6. So we're going all the way, we're just pi over 6 short, or 30 degrees short, which means we are 30 degrees away from our x-axis, so our reference angle is 30 degrees. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Remember, 30 degrees, sine goes second, so sine is 1/2. So the cosecant is 2 over 1, but we also need to make sure, see if it's positive or negative. In the second quadrant, sine is positive. Since cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, it's also positive. All right, 3 pi over 4. It's kind of the same as what we did here. Here, 6 pi over 6 would have been halfway. 3 pi over 4 is close to 4 pi over 4, so it's close to halfway, but we don't go all the way halfway. We go to the second quadrant, and we stop pi over 4 away from the x-axis, which means our reference angle is pi over 4, or 45 degrees. Remember, pi over 4, 45 degrees? So we know our answer is positive because in the second quadrant, sine is positive. And we want to say, we're looking at this point, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Sine goes second, so our answer is the square root of 2 over 2. Number 10, okay, so that's 5 pi over 3. 5 pi over 3 is close to 6 pi over 3, which is a full 2 pi. So we're almost going all the way around the circle. Okay, we know this is 3 pi over 3. We keep on going, and we stop pi over 3 short of the x-axis. Okay, so that means that our reference angle is pi over 3, and pi over 3 is associated with 60 degrees. So our reference angle is 60 degrees. In the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive, so our answer is positive. And we're looking at this point, 1/2 square root of 3 over 2, so our answer is 1/2. On number 11, so we're rotating negatively, which is clockwise. So we're going to rotate 90, 180, and then we go 30 degrees more to 210, which means our reference angle is right here. It's 30 degrees. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive, which means tangent is negative. And at 30 degrees, tangent, remember tangent is sine over cosine. So that's 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2, which is really negative 1/2 times 2 over the square root of 3, which is negative 1 over the square root of 3. If we rationalize the denominator, we get negative square root of 3 over 3. Okay, cotangent of 840. So if we rotate a full 360 degrees, and then we go another 360, we're now at 7 20. And that would leave us with another 120 degrees to go. So that's 90. We go another 30, which puts us in the second quadrant. Our reference angle is right here at 60 degrees. Okay, and cotangent in the second quadrant, only sine is positive, so our answer is negative. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Remember, tangent is sine over cosine, so cotangent is cosine over sine. We're looking at 60 degrees, so that's 1/2 over the square root of 3 over 2. And I don't even have to rationalize this because I just did the same problem on the previous problem, so our answer is negative square root of 3 over 3. Okay, so secant of 23 pi over 4. So these are problems I think you guys typically have a problem with. 23 pi over 4 is really close to 24 pi over 4, okay? And 24 pi over 4 would just be 6 pi. Or you can look at it as this, like this. We go 4 pi over 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then if we went all the way around again, we'd go 24, but we're not. We're going pi over 4 short of 6 pi. So that gives us our reference angle right here, which is 45 degrees. In the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive. See, only cosine is positive. Since secant is the reciprocal of cosine, it's also positive. At 45 degrees, we're looking at the point square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So if cosine is the square root of 2 over 2, secant is 1 over the square root of 2 over 2, which is the same as 1 times the reciprocal of the square root of 2 over 2, which is 2 over the square root of 2. Then we would rationalize our denominator, and that gives us 2 square roots of 2 over 2, which the 2's cancel, just gives us the square root of 2. Okay, let's look at 14. On 14, this is negative 13 pi over 6, which is just pi over 6 more than 2 pi. So if we're going to sketch this graph, and we start here, we're going clockwise because our angle is negative, so that's that would give us 6 pi over 6. Right here, that would give us 12 pi over 6. And then we just rotate pi over 6 more, or 30 degrees more. So our reference angle is 30 degrees. In the fourth quadrant, cosine is the only thing that's positive. And since cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, then it is negative here. And at 30 degrees, sine goes second, is 1/2. And cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so it's the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. So our answer is negative 2. Okay, what I want you guys to work on for your homework is 15 through 30, okay? In my next video, I will help you guys with this, but it's really just saying when is sine negative, in what quadrant is sine negative and cosine is positive, in which quadrant is cosine positive, but tangent is negative, and in which side is cosecant positive, but cosine is negative. So it's really just wanting you to look at all students take calculus. Okay, again, your homework is 15 through 30. Don't forget your quizzes on Wednesday.